Hey everyone, it's Bob Crossan. I'm the editorial director for Wastewater Digest, and I'm joined today by Sagrado Sparks. He is vice president of operations for McCarthy Building Companies, and also is one of our 2023 WWD Young Pros. So thank you so much for being here, Sagrado.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, Bob. Really appreciate it. Honored to be a part of this group.
Yeah, congratulations also on being named one of the Young Pros. We get many nominations every single year on this, and we only get to feature a handful of them. So consider yourself among the cream of the crop.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Certainly feel honored. And, one of my McCarthy colleagues, Michaela Rumkowski, was also part of this 2023 group. And she's a great individual contributor to our team and just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about your career? VP of operations, you're more of a higher level person when it comes to the young professionals that we tend to feature. How did you, A, why water? How did you get into water? And B, what led you to that point of your career?
Sure. So I guess I'll start. I studied civil engineering, so was no stranger to water and wastewater processes. But I always knew I wanted to be in the construction side of the house and
Mhm.
build big impactful projects for the community. So after college, I started working for a general contractor, and my first assignment was a wastewater facility. And didn't necessarily think about building those kinds of projects, but I was that was my first assignment, and so you go where you're asked to go,
Mhm.
and it was such a great experience. I was one of the first individuals on site, working through site clearing, site utilities, cast in place concrete, process piping and equipment, electrical, and startup and commissioning. And then, that's really what started to drive that passion for the complexity that it takes to build water and wastewater treatment plants. And man, I just carried that forward. I really enjoyed the challenge and then really started to recognize the impact that these kinds of projects have on our surrounding communities. Again, whether it's the wastewater side or the water side, it's necessary for our communities. And so I really built that passion for building these kind of structures and traveled all across the country, from Nevada to Texas to Arizona, Colorado, building various sizes and shapes of these different type of facilities.
Yeah. Well, it is such a fascinating field, and I mean, I know from my perspective, I'm sure this is very similar to you. You didn't really pay much attention to it until you got into it, and then it became like this. I've always really enjoyed just the depth that you can go to with these with these fields in water and wastewater. It seems like you can never stop learning something new.
100%. And each project is different, has its own level of intricacies, process technologies. um you know all the technologies are evolving over time, especially as regulations change. And so, yeah, every project is a new learning opportunity. No, it's not a one size fits all. And it's certainly, every day is a new challenge, when you go to construct these things.
Yeah. So when you talk to people who are outside of the industry and you try and describe what it is that you do, how do you try to explain it to them?
Sure. So I start, you hit on it. Most people don't have it at the forefront, right? Of, you know, water and wastewater. So when I tell them that, that's what I construct, and I'm part of those teams that build these treatment facilities, they kind of give you a goofy eye. And the
Hmm.
way I explain it is, well, did you turn on your faucet this morning and did clean water come out? And like, yeah. You use the bathroom, flush the toilet? Yeah. Well, I help build some of those facilities that bring you that clean water and that dispose and treat that waste stream and create, sustainable solutions, with that wastewater stream. And then the light
Hmm.
bulb goes off, because to your point, society really at large, here in the 21st century, is really just taken for granted that you turn on the faucet, there's water, you flush the
Hmm.
toilet, and it goes somewhere, and not too concerned as to the where or why. And so to be able to build those facilities and bring some light to others in the industry, they become very appreciative of, kind of what we do.
Yeah, yeah. You're always asking the question, well, where do you think it goes to? Where do
Yeah,
you think it came from?
right.
You know?
Exactly.
What do you do outside the office for fun? Like, how are there certain ways you like to decompress? Are there any hobbies that have stuck with you, despite I'm sure some pretty long hours some days?
Yeah, so certainly the gym, I like to do strength and conditioning training. That's sort of my, the iron paradise, if you will, of
Yeah.
how I like to decompress. I actually grew up in Alaska, so I'm a big outdoor mountain guy, and I enjoy snowboarding. I try to make a couple trips every year with some friends and family. I'll take that PTO and get up into the mountains. I play ice hockey. I play in a recreational league, so I really enjoy that. It's one of my passions growing up, and keeping that going. Just not only the team camaraderie piece of it, but exercise and just again continuing to fuel and stay active. And then most recently, I've started to get into some off-roading. Whether that
Mm.
be in Jeeps or those side-by-side off-road utility vehicles. That's been kind of a new hobby that I've been getting into, and just spending time outdoors. Really, anything outside, I'm all in.
Yeah. Well, this is, I feel like it's really common that a lot of people in this industry, that is kind of like how they decompress. And I think it's probably just a common thing amongst people, but the value that you bring to with this industry is that environmental stewardship in a lot of ways. You get to connect with it in kind of a different way.
100%, and especially again being from Alaska, that connection with the wilderness and wanting to preserve it and make sure that we're being again those that good steward of the environment is important to me, and to your point, many in the industry.
Yeah. I mean, getting back to the industry itself and work that you have done, could you describe a project that's made you most proud? Is there one that you can point to? You're like, that's the one that I've always, that was the one.
Sure. So it's one of my more recent projects is the Northeast Water Purification Plant down in Houston, Texas. We were one of several general contractors out on site, a part of a $1.8 billion program that, upon completion, will deliver 320 million gallons per day of clean drinking water to the surrounding, greater Houston area. So it's cool, not just from a scale perspective of how big and complex the project was and the impact to the community, but more so internally. We had a large staff, and we really got to grow and challenge our team, and at all levels of the organization, from getting the entry level project engineers up to mid-level management, managing small cluster teams, and from mid-level managers to taking on greater scope and responsibility. So really at all cross sections of the organization on that project, we really grew and developed a lot of folks to take on more leadership roles. And so that's something I was really proud of, and really gaining the younger folks, the fresh college graduates that came and joined our company, and really get them passionate about building water projects and really what that means and the impacts that it has on the communities. Because again, to your point, not a lot of people think about that. They think they want to get in construction and build a sexy high rise somewhere, and don't necessarily think of wastewater as an avenue. And very quickly they find the passion that we all have for these kinds of projects, and it's contagious. And so building that passion in that new generation of builders was also a really cool part of that project, and just seeing the growth really at all levels
Yeah.
of our individuals. So
For those newer generation people who are joining in, some of like those fresher faces and things like that, what were some of the things that you noticed about their generation? What kind of influence do you think they're going to have on water and wastewater for years to come now?
sure. So I think it's no surprise really in all industries, really, this concept of sustainability and really being forward thinking, and what impacts are we having on the environment. So I definitely, this newer generation definitely keeps that at the forefront of, how can we be more innovative, and how can we, reduce our carbon footprint, and how can we, address challenging drought condition or challenging, raw water quality, and really try to focus on that. And so I think this newer generation is really focusing on long-term stewardship of our water resources, which are becoming more and more scarce.
Absolutely. And just a little bit on top of that, which is this is my last question, which I asked of Michaela as well, and I'll be asking of all the other young professionals I interview, which is, do you have a message to employers who are struggling with hiring or retention? I know that workforce has become a very big topic of concern for a lot of not only utilities, but manufacturers, contractors, engineers, consultants everywhere, basically in water. What's a message that you would tell them about, like, how can you address this hiring and retention problem? What are you seeing from those newer employees that they need to be catering to?
Sure. I mean, I think it starts with that culture and engagement. This younger generation, they want to feel a part of something. They want to feel like they're having an impact, and they should. And we as leaders need to, create that environment that, foster that open communication. And I think a big part of that, especially what we focus on here at McCarthy, is that employer manager connection, that employee manager connection, and really ensuring that there's constant communication with all of our folks. Make sure that we create an avenue for learning and development. Everybody grows at different rates, and that's okay. And making sure that everybody has a seat on the bus, and making sure that they're feeling valued and that they're having an impact. And I think of, other things that we do in the industry. I think of like our McCarthy Partnership for Women is a program that we have where we get to connect the various women within the industry and try to break down some of the stigma that may still exist, that, construction is for males only, and that's certainly not the case. There's a lot of very smart, dynamic women leaders, and we need to get more of those into the construction business. So I think those are some things that I would say, and most importantly, it really starts with that engagement culture piece with that generation.
Yeah, it seems like it should just be a slam dunk with the culture. Like, think about water, sustainability, environmental stewardship. It seems like it would be such a slam dunk from the culture side. So it seems like it shouldn't be that hard to try and integrate that into your processes, but
it shouldn't be. But sometimes it is, and
mm-hmm.
the construction industry can sometimes be stubborn in their ways, and hey, we've always done it this way. And I think it's really incumbent upon us to change the narrative and continue to push and strive to be better every single day, and really implement that culture that people want to be a part of.
Definitely, definitely. Well, thanks so much, Sagrado. I appreciate you taking the time and talking with us and getting your insights on what you see for the future of the industry, and also how you got to where you are today.
I appreciate it, Bob. Thanks again for having me, and appreciate the time.
For sure. And for everyone who's interested, you can check out our video description below. We have a link to the Young Professionals article, as well as a link to last week's video interview with a WWD Young Pro.